Hi, Ignacio. Welcome to BizTalk. That's my great pleasure having you with me today. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you very much for the invite as well.
The pleasure is mine. So let's start talking a bit about yourself. Some flavor, your background, what you've done.
Yeah, so I'm Ignacio, and I'm originally from Spain, but I've been in various countries for since a young age, from Germany, Italy, Spain, and now in the UK. And I've always had an interest when it comes to selling a product. Right, I started quite young with the e-commerce side of things, so drop shipping, and then it really made me want to know more on how the importance of selling, the importance of marketing, especially in terms of the consumer behavior. And then I've always had a problem within my own mother tongue. And that's why I built Correcto alongside my co-founders.
Thank you. Anyway, let's talk about Correcto.
Perfect. Bienvenido a Correcto. So Correcto started approximately a year and a half ago, just before the pandemic. And so when I received an email from the regional manager of Spain, Indeed, which is the job platform application, with various spelling mistakes and grammar mistakes, right? And from a client's perspective, I didn't really feel my needs were fulfilled. And that's where I actually did not go forward with their services, and I went to the competitor. And then I realized to myself, there must be something out there that really provides that value to customers when it comes to written communication, like it's done in other languages. So myself and my co-founder, Abraham, we started a 4-month research to really understand the market itself, right? If there was a problem within the market. And then we also asked 20 different companies what they thought about the idea, what type of features are the core pillars of it, and most important, how much would they be willing to pay. So we did realize that there was a huge gap in the market, and that's how Correcto really started. So in overall, in terms of what we solve, we obviously tackle in the B2B, but also B2C side, essentially anyone that can write in Spanish, right? Whether it's from a company's perspective or from a student, being native and non-native person. So for our companies, we essentially we're providing them that peace of mind to any public or type of communication that's leaving the company, to make sure that everything is polished and to the highest standard possible according to their customers, to the standards, to the company standards. And then from the customer perspective, more into the B2C, we also providing that extra tools to students and people that are learning Spanish to really enhance the writing and actually learn through the process. The solution overview, so we provide various features, which can be the tone detector in terms of real-time suggestions through AI and machine learning models, and kind of really provide that value when you come to writing anything in Spanish, right? This can be an email to your colleague, it can be a report to your teacher, or it can even be a formal or informal WhatsApp through your phone. So we provide 4 different plans, right? This can go from premium and freemium, that really is towards the B2C side. And then we have the education, more direct into universities, schools, and also universities which are not based in Spain, but also provide business management with Spanish, for example. And then we also obviously have the business plan, which is for any type of business, and we can really personalize each of their licenses according to their needs, right? So if they want to have a really specific feature but they don't want the rest, we can really use that personalization tool to really adapt to their needs. So moving forward, just giving a kind of a broad perspective of the current market that we're entering. So there's 580 million that speak Spanish worldwide. It's spoken in 44 countries, and in 21 is an official language. It's the 3rd most popular language in the world, and 7.3% of the world's population speaks Spanish. However, there's no platform like ours to really provide that extra mile when it comes to written communication until now. So we've had quite a good traction for the past few months since we launched. This is up to date, right? So we launched our closed beta end of July, and we've over have 1,250 plus users in just under 2 months, all coming organically. And then obviously in terms of the signing spend time inside the platform is around 19 minutes per signing, and the different type of calls that they have to our APIs is around 43 per person for the reads and 76 per person for the writes. And we also have over 55 companies that have signed NDAs, letters of intent, to be using the platform in various stages of the development. So this can go from the closed alpha that we did back in March, or to a launch that is going to be at the end of October, mid-November. We currently have 25 companies that are currently using the platform on a trial basis. However, we do have commercial term sheets signed in order once their trial ends in mid-November. A bit of competitors overall. So we obviously have a indirect competitor, which is Grammarly, directed into the English market, right? They not have any intentions to shift in their vision into another language, especially because they're really focused into the English language. And as they said, they would like to have anyone that speaks English to be using Grammarly. And then we have Language Tool. Our main unique selling point in comparison to them is, first of all, the different type of features and innovation that we're going to be able to develop, but also because they have 20 different languages, so it's quite hard for them to really develop and innovate in those 20 different languages in comparison to us that we're only focused into Spanish. So in terms of the team, myself and Abraham are the co-founders, and we have an operational and development team. And we do have various advisories. So that is IBM, that we have a technological and commercial partnership, which is essentially we're using the cloud system that they provide us with their infrastructure. And they also provide us tech credits. And then now we're already speaking how we're going to be able to penetrate Correcto into startups within the ecosystem. And then 3 major universities which have collaborations with us. This can be in terms of usage, in terms of interns, etc. And then we also have Box Connect, which has been founded by the former managing partner of Gympass, Portugal, which he has a huge experience in B2B sales and corporate sales, especially in Latin America, a huge market for us. And that's where we feel we're going to really make the difference there. And this is Correcto. So, and our slogan is Escribe Correcto, which means write correctly.
I like your concept and your business idea. I mean, my first question is very straightforward. You are focused on Spanish, right?
Correct. Only Spanish, and more specifically Castellano, mainly because through our research process, especially speaking to Latin American companies, they actually do prefer using Castellano as their main point of reference, which we actually follow La RAE's guidelines in terms of grammatical standards, which is what they're really looking for when it comes to written communication.
You are very deep and precise in correcting how to write in perfect Spanish, okay? And Castellano, whatever it is. And how do you exactly make the audience, the users, to not comparing yourself to, I don't know, Google Translate?
Okay, so the main difference is that we do not actually translate. We are actually correct the written communication. So you just write in Spanish. For example, I'm going to give you an example. So Maria is an EA university student. She's not Spanish, but she needs to write reports in Spanish on a daily basis because she's doing a model that is business management with Spanish. So through the process of writing, she's not been learning Spanish since a young age, like a 90% has done. Correcto essentially corrects your writing. It does not translate from English to Spanish. It focuses mainly through our AI models, basically to correct the Spanish written communication. So this can be reports, emails, etc. Because we actually have an in-house data set, a corpus that contains 1.5 million phrases in Spanish, as I like to call it, translated into software language, which really allow us to give that differentiation of the text and according to what they're writing, this can be an academic paper, a business report, we can really adapt the corrections according to what they are really writing about.
Okay, but at the same time, if I use, for example, I'm writing an email on Gmail and I'm writing Italian, for example, in my case, when I talk to my fellow, and still it corrects me when I write, or it suggests me, and maybe it also, actually it does, correct me. My point is, how do you sell your value proposition? Make sure that people are not confusing your platform with just a corrector.
So basically, it's quite a great point there. So for example, all this email platform, they actually go more to a statistic probability of that being wrong, right? The difference between us and them is that we use actually the whole context of the phrase. To give an idea, we actually put the same text onto Word, the Microsoft Word, and to Correcto. In Word, there were mainly spelling mistakes, right? Maybe a tilde, right? An accent, etc. But in ours, it was mainly focusing on the overall text. There was 9 errors made in Word, and ours it was discovered 22, right? And that's because there's AI models behind, so it really understands the context of the overall paragraph, the overall sentence, and essentially it can predict as well what you're going to be writing about. So then it can really adapt onto the type of corrections that it's going to make for you. Really important is that also when you're writing emails, we're just launching our Chrome extension. So again, it's going to be able to correct you apart from statistically, it can do Gmail, for example. I don't know if you've ever written kind and then it always says regards right after. And that's mainly because if there's 100 million people writing the same thing and starting the same way, there's a really high probability it's actually going to be written or you're going to write the same. That's why it really corrects you. The difference is that it has no AI behind to really predict according to the context of the paragraph.
I mean, you are B2B and B2C. B2C probably is more general, but B2B not. If I'm working, my question is, if I'm working in construction, I write in one way. If I'm working in service, let's say in finance, I'm writing in another way. Is your platform capable to correct me according with the industry I'm working and the language we should use inside this industry?
Totally. So as I said, the data set has different types of topics, right? This can be politics, sports, economics, legal. So it does really allow you to adapt the AI before the text. You say, for example, this is more formal, this is neutral, this is maybe academic, this is business. And already the AI will be prepared for what you may write, right? So it can really adapt, and we keep innovating our data set by having more information and data gathered. So every time that we grow our data set, the corrections and the type of tone that you can implement is going to be more advanced. For example, right now, our AI has 77 accuracy, just under 6 months of training the AI. And that's only with the companies that we've been having from early adapters in just the space of 6 months, right? So we are really confident that we're going to be growing at a steady percentage in accuracy as long more users start using the platform.
And can I use Correcto on my mobile?
So currently, you can use it mainly on the web app, right? This can be on the laptop, on the iPad, and now we also you can use it on the phone, right? But it's going to be essentially the interface of like a normal website, web app, right? However, we are finalizing the Chrome and Safari extensions, and then in the next month or two, we're going to be launching our Android and iOS keyboard, which is going to really allow you to have corrections in real time when you're writing formal or informal text.
Okay. So, and there is any way Correcto can be used also in chatting?
Yeah, so one of our really long-term goals is to provide our APIs to customer service hubs, for example, chatbots, even, for example, Slack. This can be an option, which we want to really enhance the Spanish level, right? We want to increase the standards when it comes to writing in Spanish. As a Spanish person, you normally are really messy with what you write, especially informally or sometimes formally. So I think our main goal is to provide that value when it comes to writing anything in Spanish, whether you are a builder sending an email for your next job, to a huge an executive director, a company speaking to your CEO, right? We actually want to close that gap for them to not really think and see who the person is, but also according more into their skills, their educational background. We want to close that gap. We want to make sure that anyone can send an email to the highest standards, whether you've gone to Harvard or you went to a public university, right? We want to close that gap. And one thing I like to mention is that in the customer service hubs, for example, such as, for example, Philippines, countries such as Philippines, Honduras, Guatemala, we want to get to a point that these huge corporations go to those countries, not because of the cheap labor, but we want to get to a point that they go to those places because the quality and the service of the chat, of the customer service is the highest, not because of the cheap labor.
I mean, Correcto is Spanish, which is probably, if not the most spoken one for sure, most spoken language in the world. You have a huge market, which is going to be all Latin America, part of Europe, and so on. Is your IP, how difficult for you is going to be if one day you decide to go to another very well-spoken language? Maybe it's not English because everyone is working on English.
I mean, obviously, we are mainly focused on Spanish. We're not thinking of shifting our vision to another language, even though the possibilities are endless. The whole management team we're all Spanish. We understand the needs from a student perspective to business perspective, right? So we're really confident on Spanish. We know the huge market there is, the huge growth. There's every year more people studying Spanish, and we want to impulse that growth using Correcto. So in that aspect, yes, there could be a possibility that other people can enter, but also we're not going to be the ones leaving the market. We're going to concentrate to be the go-to platform when it comes to Spanish, for sure.
Also, because Spanish is very different. When I talk to, I mean, I don't speak Spanish, but when I listen the Mexican and I don't know, people in Spain or Colombia, it's so different.
It's completely different. Yes, correct. But one thing that is also, for example, in the research process, that actually Latin businesses actually prefer, especially speaking to countries within not Latin, like US, Spain, UK, etc. They actually prefer using Castellano, which is quite surprising. But we know that from a B2C perspective, when we enter especially the education system in Latin America, in Mexico, for example, we are going to be developing a specific corpus and data sets. So the education, the type of language is into the highest standards in Mexico universities, is going to be adapting to that Spanish Mexican, right? However, we're mainly concentrating on Castellano now as our base, but we know we're going to develop onto other type of Spanish Mexican, Spanish Chile, Spanish Argentinian into the next upcoming months and years.
I mean, we are moving from writing to voice. Are you going to that space one day?
It could be a possibility. The good thing is that all the innovation in the ed tech is growing rapidly. So that could be a possibility to have our AI models to be able to use it into voice. However, we're now concentrating on the writing, but it's something that we're not going to discard for sure.
In terms of business model, how are you working on your B2C and B2B sides, which are very, very different in marketing, sales, and all this kind of stuff?
So we have different stages in terms of we're creating different buyer personas in terms of who can be our ideal customer in stage one. For example, this can be sales agencies, marketing agencies, editorials, newspapers. Then we're creating different pipelines and strategies to really tackle their needs. First of all, to really understand what they need. And then by knowing what they need is when we come in and actually fulfill those needs when it comes to that. So this can be, for example, sales agency. Juan works in a sales agency, and he's always proofreading each email to make sure that the email is written correctly, there's no double space, there's no comma that he's missing. So that's where he can use Correcto's Chrome extension or Safari extension. And while he's writing the email, he can then already quickly see the errors that he's making. And he can then increase the number of emails he sends every day. And then by sending more emails, the chance of them getting more leads are higher, right? So we have different pipelines according to the sector, the buyer persona that we're creating, but we're quite confident that we make sure that the quality and the value of the product, it makes that sense to them, right? So yeah, and then from a business perspective, again, each company has different ways of doing it. Huge companies will be to tackle the management and the HR. Small companies will be through our network, and we've already established a really strong network within SMEs in Spain, especially in Madrid, that we can really connect with. And as a marketer, I think one of the best ways of gathering customers is the word of mouth. I think that's one of the best strategies for startups. Being referred by someone that is using the platform is by far the best, because you can really rely on their review, their opinion, and actually their usage, which is quite important.
I agree. May I ask you, you are based in UK, but actually all your countries outside UK. Why did you choose UK, London?
So first of all, because UK, I think, has one of the best startup programs in terms of government support in comparison to Spain, right? We obviously base, myself and my co-founder, we're based between London and Cambridge. So we know really good the whole business side when it comes to legal side, like the company house, how to create the company, the banks, and also the huge grants, right? We're part of the R&D and development grant in the UK, which is great help, especially for young startups. And I feel that's where we are more confident at, right? As comparison to Spain, there's so many regulations, so many payments, and from a small corporation, small startup like ours, it's really hard to tackle maybe a 3,000 payment to open a company in comparison to the UK. So I think the main reason is because there's huge helps for startups and for the founders, and also because we know how to really work around them.
So are you fundraising now?
Sorry?
Are you fundraising?
Yes, we're currently fundraising with close friends and family pool last around at the beginning of the project, more or less. And now we're currently raising our seed round. Yes.
Okay, and mailing for how's going to be used the funds?
So the funds are mainly going to be used within the tech and the personnel, right? We want really talent. I think that's really important when it comes to a company, the people that's working for the company. Currently, we are young, motivated people, right? We want to make sure that the platform goes out there and really sees the light of what we're doing behind closed doors, right? So it will be around 40 to 45% concentrating on the tech. So reinforcing the tech that we currently have, improving or creating new features, expanding our product range, and then mostly like another 45% or maybe 40% will be go to personnel, and then we will keep like around 15% cash flow just as a margin as this first like race, because we want to make sure that the product goes first than anything.
I mean, let's say we've been already talking about KPIs. In your mind, how do you scale your startup? It's very early stage startup. is going to be very tough when you need to move for your early stage to a scaling stage. It's not only about money. Money helps and helps a lot. But what's your vision and what's your strategy to scale your business?
So obviously, I feel like the business model, the business that we currently have, it's quite easy in terms of scalability, right? It's mainly understanding the customer needs, right? So I think really quite important is providing that free value, right? Like we're creating our whole blog of different ways of using our words, right? So when they even write in Google how to use this word or this, we're going to be the ones being right there, and we're going to explain why. We're going to have different examples, right, to really provide the value. I think once the people see the value that we're providing for free, we can then really enhance the why they should buy the premium, right? But then obviously through different marketing techniques, a lot of offline, but also online, being present in social media, I think is vital. But being in social media is not about the followers and the type of content, well, the type of content you post, yes, but it's most important how you really interact with the customers, right? The engagement rate. So we are more focused on the engagement rate, right, than the followers and the likes. We want to make sure that each customer feels the best way, or like the unique or special customer within the company. So that's where we mainly focus, providing that free value at first, right? So when you're writing Google how to write or how to use this accent here or there, we're going to be explaining how to use it, why to use it, and in which scenarios you can use it, right? That's the first way. Then the second way could be through videos, right? Explaining different grammar rules, how to different tips, etc. All that has to do with writing correctly in Spanish. But obviously, with the help of social media, Facebook advertisements, digital advertisements overall.
What's your vision for Correcto? Where do you see Correcto in 5 years?
So Correcto, I think in 5 years it's going to be the leader in the Spanish grammar space. In my opinion, I think we're going to be. I mean, it's quite bold to say, but I think we're going to be one of the next unicorns in Spain. We're quite confident in that aspect. We want to really be able to close that gap on the educational background, and we are quite confident that we're going to be able to achieve over 50 or 100,000 or even 500,000 users in under 5 years. And then we are progressed to be integrated into Word, Slack, Gmail as an essential platform, essential product for any business or student or college when it comes to writing in Spanish.
Do you have any message for investors? Why they should invest in Correcto?
I think the most important thing about Correcto is not the today, but it's the tomorrow, right? Our goal, as I said throughout this presentation, is to really close that gap when it comes to educational background. I feel like through COVID, we've seen how so many jobs have been closed, how many not so many jobs have been created, and we want to really make that difference, that maybe someone writing an email with the right level of grammar in Spanish, they get the next job. And that's where we're going towards, making sure that anyone can write Spanish to the highest and most professional standard.
Ignacio, thank you very much for coming to BizTalk. It's been a very great pleasure for me having you today.
Thank you very much for the invite. It's always a great pleasure to speak with you.